We have now walked through advertising modernization, compensation transparency, possession rules, negotiation clarifications, and broker supervision standards. Every chapter has pointed toward one reality. The rules are clearer, and clearer rules make enforcement more direct. Now we step into the final piece of the compliance puzzle: what actually happens when a complaint is filed. Because understanding enforcement procedures is not about fear, it is about preparation. Article 13 governs administrative procedures. It explains how investigations move forward, how pleadings are served, what happens if you do not respond, and how confidentiality operates during an investigation. When you understand this process, you remove much of the uncertainty that makes complaints feel overwhelming. Service of pleadings. Clarified. When the department initiates formal action, documents must be served properly. The modernization clarified service procedures so there is less ambiguity about how notice is delivered. Service may occur through methods authorized under administrative law, including mail or other approved delivery systems. The key concept is this: once service is properly executed, the clock starts. That clock matters. Deadlines for response are not flexible simply because you were busy, traveling, or emotionally stressed. If the department serves a pleading and you fail to respond within the required time frame, the consequences can escalate quickly. Let's walk through a realistic example. An agent receives notice of a complaint but assumes it is minor and delays responding. The agent does not consult their broker or legal counsel. The deadline passes. Even if the underlying issue was defensible, failure to respond may result in additional consequences, not because of guilt, but because of inaction. Under clarified procedures, notice and response timelines are more structured. Once you are served, you must act promptly. Silence is not protection. Default procedures. Clarified. This is where many licensees make a costly mistake. If you do not respond to a formal notice within the required time frame, you may be subject to default. A default does not mean the department proved the allegations through a full evidentiary hearing. It means you failed to participate in the process. When default occurs, the allegations may be deemed admitted. That can result in discipline ranging from civil penalties to suspension or revocation. Let's make this memorable. Imagine you receive a formal complaint alleging improper compensation disclosure. You believe it is a misunderstanding and ignore it, assuming it will go away. It does not go away. The department proceeds. You miss the response deadline. Default is entered. Now the focus shifts from whether the compensation disclosure was adequate to whether you failed to engage in the administrative process. In many cases, the failure to respond causes more damage than the underlying conduct. Participation is protection. Even if the complaint feels unfounded, the procedure must be respected. Investigation. Confidentiality. Now let's discuss something that often causes anxiety: confidentiality. Administrative investigations are generally confidential while they are ongoing. This protects both the public and the licensee during the investigative phase. This does not mean the matter disappears. It means the process is structured. Confidentiality allows investigators to gather facts, review documents, and evaluate compliance without immediate public exposure. However, once a formal order or disciplinary action is entered, that outcome may become public record. Understanding this distinction helps manage expectations. If you are under investigation, do not attempt to control the narrative publicly. Do not post defensive statements online. Do not contact complaining parties inappropriately. Respect the process. Confidential investigations are designed to allow fair evaluation before conclusions are drawn. How this connects to everything you've learned. Let's step back. Chapter 3 taught you how advertising violations are often documented through screenshots. Chapter 4 taught you how compensation disclosures must be documented and routed properly. Chapter 5 taught you how supervision systems are reviewed when conduct issues arise. Now Article 13 shows you how those issues move procedurally. Complaint filed. Investigation opened. notice served, response required, hearing or resolution. The clearer the underlying rules, the more straightforward this process becomes. And because the 2025 modernization reduced ambiguity, investigations focus less on interpretation and more on facts. Was it disclosed? Was it documented? Was it authorized? Was it supervised? If your answer is supported by documentation, your position strengthens significantly. A practical protection strategy. The best way to protect yourself in an enforcement environment is not reactive. It is proactive. Document thoroughly. Follow written procedures. Respect representation boundaries. Obtain written authorization for possession. Disclose compensation clearly and early. Communicate through proper channels. If you operate consistently within structured compliance, enforcement becomes far less intimidating. Remember this: the department does not expect perfection. It expects professionalism, documentation, and cooperation. If a complaint arises and you respond promptly, provide documentation, and demonstrate adherence to written policies, many matters resolve without severe discipline. Fear grows in ambiguity. Confidence grows in structure. Preparing for the final section. In the final module of this course, we will examine practical complaint triggers and real-world discipline patterns, including the most common mistakes Arizona agents make in 2025 and how to avoid becoming a case study. Because enforcement is not just about what happens after a complaint. It is about preventing the complaint in the first place.